What's going on? Welcome back to the Identity Jedi Show. It's the first one in a while since I started that I'm going solo. So it's just me. No guests, no Samir this week, just me going off the top. Not really. Got some notes and things that I want to sit here and go through and talk to you guys about. Got some things on my mind, obviously, that I want to share about identity, about cybersecurity in general, some thoughts and things that I want to run past you as you're listening to this in your car. Maybe you're at the gym, maybe you're in the car, or maybe you're just watching on YouTube and chilling at work. Make sure to subscribe, like, rate, all that stuff, and following however you're listening to this. We are live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and then any other place where you get your podcast from. That's where we're at. Of course, you can watch this on YouTube at the Identity Jedi Show. This is what it is. So let's hop into it. We got some programmer reminders that I want to give to you. Listen, there's a lot of things going down here in the Identity Jedi University, a lot of updates, a lot of good stuff. And so I want to give you some program reminders about our content to make sure you're locked in on when we're dropping all of the latest stuff. So currently we've been dropping podcasts like all the time. We've been dropping every Tuesday and Thursday over the summers. We've been going through the backlog of our content from an Identiverse. So as that kind of comes to an end, we're going to reduce that. I know you're so used to hearing from me and Samir twice a week, but we're gonna have to reduce that. Maybe we'll bring that back, as we start to get more guests and more content for you. But listen, so Tuesdays and Thursdays are the days of the drop. We usually drop those between 9 and 10 a.m. in the morning. I don't have it in front of me right now, the exact time, but today you're getting this one on a Tuesday. Thursday this week we should have some more content dropping for you. But then next week, going after that, we'll be reducing back down to just Thursday. So you just have content coming on you on Thursdays. And that's it from the podcast perspective. So we got some great interviews lined up for you, though. I don't even want to ruin the surprise of the people that we're bringing onto the podcast. Also, there is a limited series podcast we are looking to do. That's really still in talks. That's all I'm going to be able to tell you about right now. But man, I cannot wait. We are in talks to get this thing sponsored. We got locations we're going to shoot. This is going to be an amazing shoot that we're looking to put together and some amazing content from some amazing people that I'm super excited to bring to you. So be on the lookout for that. But as of right now, we are dropping back down to one pod a week starting next week. So, hey, if there's guests or topics you want to hear on the show, hit us up, identityjedi@gmail.com. Let us know. And if it's a guest that you want us to have on the show, hit us up and let us know. Just one thing, you got to help us get the guest on, though. Like, if you know what I'm saying? Like you said, hey, we want Barack Obama on the show. I mean, you better have some connects so we can get him on the show. Finished with the program reminders. Let's move on to the couple of announcements real quick. Identity Jedi University is coming. For those of you who've been subscribed to the newsletter, this has been something I've been talking about for the past couple of weeks, but this has been something I have been working on for over a year now. And we're going to be launching it next month in August. It's going to be back to school for all you practitioners, but Identity Jedi University, first class that's coming out is a master class hosted by yours truly, really kind of helping you master the art of identity. We're going to be coming into some of those soft skills, really a lot of the things that people have asked me, what have I used to be successful in my career, that I've really kind of honed and helped other people to hone those skills as well. I'm going to drop the link in the subscription. Make sure you go and sign up and get on the pre-register list. You're going to get eligible for discounts for that course. And then we're going to be having more courses coming soon. So that is launching. So check the link in the description. Okay, so that's done with program reminders. We are done with announcements. Let's get to the good stuff. All right, we got to talk about CrowdStrike. I mean, come on. You guys know that I could not come on here and not say a single word about CrowdStrike. Like this was crazy. And in so many ways. And I had so many conversations this past weekend about this, both with a lot of people who aren't in the, aren't in the cybersecurity practice, right? So they don't understand how these things work and having to go through and explain what CrowdStrike is and what endpoint is and how this possibly could have happened and it affected what they were doing and it affected so many machines. I just want to, from some of the stuff that I pulled from the editor about this, I just want to give you some stats real quick, right? So we on July 19th, CrowdStrike released an update that caused a significant outage affecting approximately 8.5 million Windows devices globally. And that faulty update obviously led to blue screens of death, right? Which for those of us that are still in the Windows world, that is, that's brick status. You ain't going nowhere. Like it's done, not booting up. So this then rendered many systems, many companies basically dead in the water, inoperable, right? And then check this out. Here's where it really got sticky, right? We found this in our research. The issue was particularly problematic for devices with Windows BitLocker encryption. And here's why: because the recovery required keys that were that were on another Windows server, which was also bricked. So you can't you can't recover one device, because to go get your recovery keys, that device is also bricked because it's blue screen to death on you. This was a bad day for a lot of people, for CrowdStrike, for Microsoft, for obviously, corporations and businesses. We had hospitals, banks, airlines. People were stranded globally, like trying to get home because certain airlines just couldn't operate. This was major. You saw a lot of corporations and businesses not able to not able to do business. And I'm willing to bet it was probably in the billions of revenue lost over that. It's probably just over that day and then over the weekend. And this thing is still going on as we come into this week, right? There's still organizations trying to recover from this, because, part of the recovery was that you had to boot the machine back in safe mode, then delete the file. This was released and put out there. I saw some tweets about it. I don't know if CrowdStrike actually did an official release about it, but you go back in, you had to boot it in safe mode, remove that file, then you could boot up regularly and then kind of do what you need to do. Here's the problem, right? You got to go and recover your safe mode. You can't do that remotely. You can't log in. The thing can't boot. So you have to be there, and have physical access to the machine. Yeah. So now you've got to go and reboot all of these different machines. And so it was really a test in global infrastructure, in our fragility, in our global IT infrastructure. My buddy Bird, there's a Richard Bird, that is, there's a group chat. It's me, Bird, and some other guys. And he always talks about, and I've applauded him from the time that he first said this, and he's been saying this for years now, that cloud and SaaS, that whole movement, brought some really bad habits with it, in that for some reason we just assumed that magic happens here, and all the stuff that we had to do to manage these servers and patching and all these things just went away. And it's not that they went away, they were just somebody else's problem. So there's no longer a server room I had to worry about. It went, quote unquote, to the cloud. Right now it's Amazon's problem, it's Oracle's problems, whoever cloud services use it, or for a SaaS provider, right? All these things that you still have to think about, like, hey, what are, disaster recovery, right? What are my operations around this? That didn't go away just because somebody else was managing it, because you didn't see the servers anymore. And so this just kind of showed us a couple of things. I wanted to open with this idea of we need to really step back and say, what's our relationship with software? At the end of the day, software isn't magic, right? It's a set of instructions given to a computer to take a certain amount of operations. And there's an order to those operations, right? Now, as complex and beautiful as we can make this code, at the end of the day, it's still going down and follow instructions. If this, then do this, right? And if something goes off, although we've created, right, we can fail nicely. We have, hey, if it's this error message, do these things. At the end of the day, there still needs to be process around it to say, hey, but when that doesn't work, what do we do next? And what this kind of showed me, and I'm just going to speak for myself here, my opinion, Dave's opinion, over this past weekend, is that we've really gotten away from putting in that good quality control process around how we operate our businesses around these products. Right? We haven't done the job of investing into what does our disaster recovery process look like? If this system that we built around doesn't work, what do we go to? Now, granted, we built around this system, so I understand we're not going to be completely 100%, but how do we get to 60%? How do we get to 70%? How do we get to 40%? How do we just be able to operate and get through this and not completely panic and not risk losing billions of dollars or throw the global, economy into a tailspin because a bad software update, right? This is pretty jarring and actually pretty damning on us as an industry, looking at this and going, hey, why is this possible? There's all the questions like, how the hell did this get to QA, right? I refuse to believe that there's no way that a blue screen to death made it through a quality control system. So that's one on CrowdStrike. But even coming out of that, where's the QA? Where's the update process on the customer side, right? I haven't worked anywhere near IT or help desk in a long time, but we just willy-nilly send out updates on a Friday, though? Where's our process around scheduling updates, doing things maintenance over the weekend, right? And again, when these things were on premises, right? When we had server rooms, this was planned. Hey, we're going to have a planned outage on this day. Hey, order the pizza. We're staying tonight. We're going to upload these systems. We're going to do these updates. We're going to make sure everything rolls back and go through. Hey, we're doing updates to our systems. when can we do this? Now, for some organizations, there is no, really downtime, right? Healthcare systems, there's no downtime for that, right? But you still kind of schedule your maintenance windows and figure things out. Hey, you stagger your implementations and your rollouts. Hey, we'll do this region first or this section first. We don't just update everything. So it brings up a lot of questions around, have we gotten lackadaisical around our process? Also, the next question it brings up is, what happens when we centralize all these things? When you have everything on one, vendor, right? Like this just kind of shows the reach of CrowdStrike. We all know CrowdStrike was a huge company, billions of dollars and all these things or whatever. But for CrowdStrike, for one update to take out this many businesses, right? You start to wonder, like, hey, like, let's talk about all your eggs in one basket type of thing, right? And listen, I get people say, well, this is why you want distributed vendors and things of that nature. I won't fight that. I understand that is a way to go about it. But let's not be lazy about that, though. That's not the only way, right? Let's also start to look at that and say, okay, even if I am centralizing on one vendor and one architecture, what's my process? What am I doing around this to back up? What's my disaster recovery plan? And so what it really got me thinking is identity next. Now, listen, I've been a huge fan of consolidation of identity products because I've always looked at this as identity is a consolidated problem. It is not a selection of problems that you solve. It's all glued together and it administers better and you can deploy it faster if it's an all-in-one solution. However, now that we look at that and we say identity is security, right? We want to tie identity more into security. What does that mean? Well, guess what? Now my IGA, my access management, my SSO, my PAM is all in one system. Raise your hand if you have a good backup PAM system or process. Okay, what if your IGA goes down? Nope, don't have a backup for that. Okay, got it. Your access management, your SSO, how you're authorizing access. You got a backup for that, right? No. And now they're all in one product. We've deployed faster. We've gotten more done. And dare say we've gotten to more applications that we'd have never gotten to before. But now what do we do? Again, playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, even to myself, right? Because again, I'm all for this. What does that mean? And in the 20 years I've been in this space, honestly, I can count on one hand how many times I've had conversations around disaster recovery or backup or resiliency when it comes to identity products, when it comes to identity programs in general. That's not discussed. But we probably should be having that discussion. Because if this showed us anything, this allowed us to see into the future of where identity is going. And this isn't picking on any vendor. It doesn't matter which one creates this nice consolidated tool for you. You are never very much tied in to this vendor for managing access within your organization. That's a pretty big hit if that goes down. It's a pretty big hit if that gets compromised. Now, again, this isn't saying we should stop, but we should start having these conversations. And specifically for customers, this says that now you should be having these conversations with your vendors. What is your disaster recovery plan? Like what is this process? How do you fail if you do fail? What's your uptime? What's your service level agreement? If it's 9 a.m. on a Monday and none of my users can get access, nothing's authorizing, what can I count on you for? What's your, and I kind of hate this word, shared responsibility model? Ugh. I won't say I'm anti-shared responsibility model. I just think there's some things we talk about there. But these are questions we should be asking these vendors because listen, identity is stepping into a whole new world that security has had the privilege of the last 20 years living in. And identity, we've wanted to get to this dance. We've wanted to be at this level, right? Given that college football's here, right? We've wanted to get to the big power conferences. Well, guess what? The SEC called and said, all right, come on in. Right? Big Ten said, come on in. Now we're there and we're saying, oh, wait, what are these terms you guys are talking about? How do you guys, we've got to now manage. It's not just about rolling out the identity service and rolling out the authentication service and coming up with the policy. That's great. And onboarding applications. We now have to handle operations. We now have to handle updating. We now have to handle threat detection. We now have to start planning around process for operations. How are we going to continue to make sure that this thing is continuing to run? Because it's not a one-time thing. We don't just install this and then go, okay, well, we're off to the next thing. even though that's how many customers treat identity. And so now these conversations become very important for us to have. And I think it's important for us to start having these conversations now instead of waiting until it's a reality for us, which it is coming, right? We've already seen what Okta's been through. We know that. But what are we doing to get ahead of it? This is our chance to actually proactively get ahead of this. And I think it's conversations that we need to start having a little bit more, both internally within our organizations, but as practitioners out, we need to be talking about these more at the conferences when we get together. Let's start talking about best practices. Hey, you're paying Deloitte $8 million or whatever for all these consultants. Start asking them, what are some procedures and things we need to put in place? What's the lifeblood of an identity and access management program? What does that mean? How do we make sure that this operation keeps going when things break down? Because ultimately they will. It's just the reality of the nature. It's the nature of the beast and reality in which we live, right? So, hey, listen, switching topics. And this one I really want to talk about. But actually, before I switch topics, let me know, right? Solo pod. This is always going to be a little bit different. I want this to be more interactive. If you're listening on Spotify, you can actually drop comments on Spotify. Let me know. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think about this? If you're on YouTube, drop them in the comments, right? Jedi@gmail.com. Let me know. What are your thoughts on this? I really want to hear from you guys as you look at this and you see this. Resiliency for identity and access management. What does that mean? Have you had conversations about it internally? If you're a vendor, right? I know I've got many vendors that listen to a lot of the content. If you're a vendor, what discussions are you having internally about, like, man, how do we make sure our product's a little bit more resilient? Or when it does fail, how do we fail in such a way that our customers can recover? These are the awesome questions, right? In fact, I mean, this is leading me to content for probably what's going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. I think we're going to get a panel discussion. I'm going to talk to Samir about it. And let's get some folks on and kind of talk about this. Because again, I think this is things that needs to be out there. We need to be talking about it. But right now we're going to take a real quick ad break, right? Because, hey, listen, got to pay bills around here, right? And look, this is a good thing. We got sponsors now. We got sponsors. We got ad rolls. So we're going to take a real quick break. We're going to come back. And when we come back, I'm going to talk about the identity access management product role, because I love this role and I've got a really good things I can say about this. So right back after this break. Hey, Jedi, thanks so much for listening. A real quick break to give you a word from our sponsors. This week's sponsors is Lastwall. When security is a must, trust Lastwall. Lastwall is an IDaaS all-in-one solution with quantum resilient cryptography and a PKI first approach. So if you're looking to go passwordless, if you're looking to have a more secure way to give users access, then check out Lastwall. You can hit them up at lastwall.com and don't forget to tell them the Identity Jedi sent you. So now let's get you back to the pod. Welcome back. Listen, this has been fun. I might start doing more of these solo pods. I want to talk to you about a different topic. IAM product manager role. And I want to talk about this in two separate terms, both on the vendor side and the customer side, because I think that, and granted, I'm biased, right? Once I switch to product, I absolutely love it, right? The product mindset, I think, is one that everybody, no matter where you're at, to some extent, needs to kind of take some values from, some perspective from, is when you look at something from a product owner perspective or a product, truly are looking at the entire life cycle of a product, not just the features and the business value requirements and what that means and how customers really use it. And then now it goes out, what's being used, what's being not, how do I trim certain features, how to create new features going forward, right? That mindset and how you look at something is very, very important and very useful. So let's talk about the IAM product manager role on the vendor side. So on the vendor side, as a product manager for an IAM function, right? Your job is really to understand not only how customers use your product in that feature function, but also to understand how it fits into the greater realm of identity and access management and how your product, your feature can help not only make that part easier, solve their immediate problem, but fit into this overall landscape. And when you get a chance to do that and you're able to interact with the customer and ask these questions, not only do you talk with your engineers and you say, here's the product feature, here's what we want to do. Most of this is just product management 101, right? I want to put this in front of the customer and say, this is the problem we're going to solve. How does this work for you? How would you solve this problem? And the thing that's very important, and I would say specifically for identity and access management, and it's maybe for overall product management, the customer's not always right in this one. But let me expound on that. The customer's completely right about their pain. They know the problem they're having. The customer's not always right about how they solve it. Why? Because the customer, when they're talking about their pain, is usually coming from one perspective. Hey, my knee hurts. And all I'm worried about is my knee hurts. Let's make that identity specific. Hey, access reviews suck for me. They take me forever. And I just really need to get better about doing access reviews. But what they're not thinking about, right? So then their solution is, here's how you can make access reviews better. Like, make it easier for me to see all this, auto approve these things, and then I can get these reviews done, out the door, and finished. Great. Well, your access reviews may suck because your data entitlement is trash, right? Like you have no clue what these entitlements mean or what they map to. You've got groups within groups. You've got roles, more roles than probably users. Like, your data is trash. And so no amount of features I put in my access review product are going to help you get through these things faster. It might solve a little bit of it, but you're still going to have the same problem because your data is trash, right? Or your policies suck because you don't have any. You just kind of let people have whatever access they wanted to, and then you created your policies going from there. And so it's your job as a product manager to say, okay, hey, thanks, great. You really struggle with access reviews. Let me understand why you struggle with access reviews. Okay, these are the things that hurt you here. And then you get to talk to all these different customers and try and find patterns, and then you shape your feature, and then you put it out there. But having this kind of mindset of understanding these questions, but looking at, you're trying to solve for a pain and a holistic problem of identity and access management. And so I would say to product managers out there in identity, you need to understand the rest of the feature cycles. So you need to understand a little bit of PAM, access management, no matter MFA, wherever you're working. So you can understand what the customer's pain is and where does it fit in the grand scheme of identity. Especially now as your products are becoming consolidated, because it's all your platform now affects maybe your peer product manager. And so one part of the process they're going to fix on your feature, and it should flow over to the next feature to allow them to do something better. And the customer is going to expect that. They're not going to want to hear, oh, well, that, hey, I know you set up policies over here for SSO, but you can't do the same thing for policies in your IGA tool. Why not? It's the same freaking tool. That doesn't make any sense. And so having this mindset of owning that kind of full life cycle, not only of your feature, but within the identity and access management life cycle, is going to be important. And now I want to switch over to the customer side, right? And this is something that I've seen a couple of places and I think works really, really well, and I'd like to see it more, is doing the same thing, but now from a customer internal perspective. So let's say you have your IAM program. You've got PAM, you've got IGA, you've got, directory. And so you say, listen, I'm going to have a product manager, a product owner internally that owns IGA for us. So that means they work with the engineers assigned to the IGA product. They work with the business units who are doing the access reviews, who are doing access requests, right? They talk to help desk support and understand, hey, when customers are getting frustrated and stuck, what's going on? You own that lifecycle internally. You own that customer process. You own that Scrum process for making sure that you're taking this and saying your customer is the business that you're rolling this out to, and ensuring and moving that product along within your organization. And then what's interesting, especially for a customer organization, because now like you really truly are like your own product management division, because you could have multiple product owners around the different points of identity and access management. So PAM, IGA, access, authorization, however you want to break it out. They all own those separate products, but then they still need to come back and talk to each other or have one overall IAM program czar that's saying, hey, here are all these product managers are working towards, right? Here's where we're going with our program. Here's where we're going with our product that we're rolling out. Here's the strategic roadmap. And here's how each product manager fits in, and having these discussions. So you kind of have like a VP of product internally about how we're rolling this out. How are we handling authentication within XYZ Corporation? Well, this is what we want to do. And this is how over the next 3 years, we're going to improve authentication and get it faster out to the business, get more apps onboarded within the policies that we want for authentication. Here's how authorization plays into that. My product managers are the ones going out for a specific feature and rolling that out, but this is the overall strategy and we work together. Now, listen, you can split that up. The bigger company you can have more roles. Smaller companies, listen, that may be 1 or 2 people. You may have to wear all of those hats. But the biggest thing that I want to get across with this, it's just that thought process of truly having ownership over that function and having somebody driving the product of that IAM function. Because without driving that full life cycle, that's where IAM products go to die. That's where IAM initiatives go to die. Because again, this isn't just an install, set it and forget it. You've got to continually baby and monitor and grow this thing. It's got to mature. And it takes somebody owning that life cycle to do it. So, first solo pod in a while. Wanted to drop those gems on you, some good nuggets. As we start to wrap up, as we're coming out of the summer, just another quick reminder, the content will be slowing down. Once a week, you'll still be getting new pods. Don't forget to subscribe to the Identity Jedi newsletter. You guys know what it is, theidentityjedi.com. If you're on YouTube, all this stuff will be in the description links. It will also be on there for Spotify. We're going to do a better job of making sure that the links are always in there for you. Be good to each other. Be kind to each other. Love each other. We will see you guys on the next show. I'm out.